Thank you, Sam. Not seeing any new faces, so let's jump right into team lead updates. I've been noticed Natalie filling out the implementation section. Do you want to give us a rundown of the updates, Natalie?
Sure. Not a whole lot of like sea change, I guess, but we've been moving forward with Docker files phase 1. It's basically implemented in the life cycle, but we have to now formally agree on the spec and the RFC to get it out there. I did also put out 2 new RFCs just to call for everyone to please take a look. The first is one that I think has come up a couple times, but the idea that to have a complete SBOM, we also want to describe the launcher component. And then I put another one, which has also come up with the idea, you know, we have some APIs that are pretty old and let's talk about deprecating them. So if I could just ask, I think I'm still waiting on, I know for the Docker files RFC, I think Terrence and Joe has approved recently, Terrence approved a while ago. It's Steven's RFC. I guess we can assume his approval. And I think Emily, if you could take a look. But I don't even know what what are the voting rules? Like, you know, at this point, is it lazy consensus or not? Or is it the old core team? Sam, should you also be like included in the, you know, unanimous vote? It just, everyone please look at it.
Let's all just review.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would like to enact the lazy consensus, of course, with the courtesy that, you know, especially as we're changing the process, that everyone's had a chance to either look or abstain. That's sort of my take on it. So you have your vote from me, or vote or approval from me. So now it's just the courtesy of making sure everybody that wants to review can or has.
I'm happy to read through it one more time. You guys have been building out the POC, and if that's going well, I have trust that it means that what's in there is reasonable. And I think that's in a lot of ways some of the intention of moving to this. It's like, I feel less like I'm the person who knows what the right answer here is than I used to.
Yeah, same.
It's also been like the current state of the RFC doesn't include all the spec changes and the stack removal and a bunch of other open questions. And then at some point we removed the gen packages stuff. Are all those updates, like, they're all done?
I removed the gem packages stuff. It all reflects like what we intend to do. For the spec changes, I linked to the 2 open spec PRs as well as the closed spec PR that attempted to cover the whole thing. I honestly, I don't think we can really, like, given that we sort of have this phased implementation, I think it would be impractical to try to describe all of the spec changes for all phases, but we did try in that PR that I closed. So I've kind of said, you know, I've really done as much as I can for now, but if there's more that we would like to see, we can talk about it.
I mean, I'm happy to approve it and merge it, but like that RFC, I think in general, we spoke about like RFCs having the spec, at least from the end user facing changes upfront. So like this is part of the old RFCs, but I think in the future, whenever we write RFCs, I think we shouldn't have to debate what the spec would be in the spec PRs.
So yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I also feel like the scope of this RFC is so large that it has to be phased. And so like the way I was reviewing it, the way Natalie laid it out was really nice because it was like, here's the RFC with the spec PRs. And I'm fine with whatever order we merge those things in, but like having it all that way was like exactly what I would have wanted. Granted, like, yeah, there's some things that need to be done. Like, I guess it like stack removal, right, isn't a part of those spec changes, I think. But I can't imagine like trying to swallow all of that. So I don't know.
Just approved it. I think I also asked someone from the KPAC side to look at the Docker files bit. The only piece of feedback I got was in order to implement like something equivalent to rebase. One idea was that we could just run the extensions, and the extensions could spit out whether things need to be rebuilt or whether just rebased, because the extensions are probably the only component that actually know whether they can be or cannot be. And so like the extension generation bits at least is fairly inexpensive, like just generating the Docker files. So like if they could say that, hey, this like run those things again, and post that if I need to trigger a full rebuild or just a rebase, like that is something like A extensions could signal somehow. That was probably the only piece of feedback I got in terms of how this would be implemented in like reality if you wanted to apply like rebase at scale using the extensions. And I sort of agree with the idea unless we like figure out some other way to make the rebase bits more generic.
I need to just
Is
block
it-
out time so I can get through reading all of it because it's long and I keep trying to do it in like 10-minute caps. It's not working. But the one thing that's percolating in the back of my mind is just about, like we've gotten a lot of mileage out of being able to check that we have the right credentials for all of our images during analyze. And if we can't know what the run image is until after detect, like what that means is a trade-off for the UX where things get that far before failing. I'm thinking particularly in cases where people are doing these things in Kubernetes where it's really easy to like, I feel like one of the things people ask for about help is they've set their secrets up wrong, or they put an HTTPS when they shouldn't have in their Docker secret, and you just never know until the last minute. Maybe not as a requirement, but we want some way to be able to indicate what possible run images are at analyze to check, even if it's not, you know, a hard requirement.
Don't we run detect before analyze now?
No, we run analyze first, and analyze is the one that like in the past analyze has checked those permissions, and it's also resolved any tag references to a digest reference, sort of to prevent things from changing between phases.
Wait, when we changed the phases, I thought we moved detect as the first step and then analyze.
The way around.
The
Analyze
other way
used to be
around?
the second step, and now it's the first. Yeah.
Okay.
Should we bring this up in working group tomorrow?
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna exhaust our time.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail the thing. I was just.
No. I'm gonna put it on the agenda. I think that's it for implementation. Anyone else?
I can give a quick update on the platform side of things. So basically, after the pack release or soon thereafter, we got reports of some issues with specifically an incompatibility on a bug for the lifecycle that thankfully had already been patched. So it wasn't really a big issue, but did take a little bit of investigating and communicating to others to update their version of lifecycle, but no real other action was necessary there. Outside of that, there were some pipelines that needed maintenance for pack in preparation for the release and after the release. There's probably, I believe, still one that needs to be resolved. So that's still something that's underway. And then the only other thing that I'm currently aware of is the Google Summer of Code mentorship with the cache flags for pack that is fully underway. That was delayed a bit because of some issues, but that's now, going at full throttle.
Cool.
Thanks, Javier. Thanks, Javier.
Yeah, a couple updates. So for learning, if you haven't seen Aiden's video in the learning team channel, I recommend, it's a rough cut, but I recommend giving it a view, unless you have a new version of that, Aiden.
Not until tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, not rushing you. I just thought it was worth taking a look or mentioning. For distribution, I mentioned in the channel, but there was a namespace created called GCR that, as Sam kind of pointed out, was probably a mistake because that same user created a different namespace with their personal name right after, like minutes after that. So I was looking at, we already have yank for build packs. So I was looking at the concept of yanking a namespace. I don't think it's terribly urgent. That person apparently does work at Google, and I don't really have a strong concern about people mistaking GCR in the build pack registry for something that's officially supported. So not like urgent, but gonna look at it.
I took a look at their like series of operations. What they did was they started out with a build pack that had GCR as its namespace, thinking that the namespace there would potentially also be reflected in the registry, or like they somehow got confused and they tried to register the build pack. And when you register a build pack with a new namespace, it automatically registers a new namespace. So like they didn't intend to register the GCR namespace. They were just trying to play with the personal build pack because they, in the next commit, they changed it to their. Yeah.
I mean, it's like by design, right? Because that way it just happens and it's not like a thing you have to think about. But given that that is somewhat inevitable, I think some ability to prune them or yank them would be a nice companion to that convenience.
What's interesting is the model we take versus the model like something like Artifact Hub takes in terms of namespace or package registration. For them, it's more like you sort of maintain all the metadata in your own repository, and you associate like an organization with the namespace essentially. So like you control the metadata. So if you're in control of the Google GitHub organization, then you're in control of what goes.
Yeah, that I feel like there's a reason that there was something that prohibited us from doing it that way. But that is like I have not great feels about the sort of like centralized control of that stuff, because like it's really cumbersome to add space today. Like that's probably the biggest gap in the registry. And so giving like I think one of the easiest things to do to make that a better experience is sort of shift the ownership of that towards the org that it is tied to, so that they don't need any kind of like GitHub action from us to approve and whatever once it's created. So yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I mean, the artifact hub thing is still on my mind too. I just haven't had, or I haven't felt enough urge to invest time in it. I still think it's valuable to do that. Cool. So I think that covers all the sub teams. I missed one. Now's the time. Oh, did we talk about that? There's a link there.
Yeah, just I think Daniel's put in a PR for profile, and that's just waiting approvals. I've been away the last 2 weeks, so haven't had a lot of time to catch up.
Cool. I added an item for the KubeCon North America maintainer track. Is I don't know if I haven't caught any discussions on that. So if we already have, my apologies for being out of touch, but I think the submission is due July 11th. I think I'm going to be there, so I'm happy to do whatever, but I don't necessarily need to be the speaker.
I am unsure as of now if I'll be there, but we should probably appoint someone either from the learning team or the team leads to handle the KubeCon organization.
Yeah, I can take that. I'm just reading this email again. Maintainer, so we get one session, like a normal maintainer track session, and then there's a Contrib Fest session that is 90 minutes, in person only, designed to provide projects with the space and resources to tackle outstanding technical debt, security issues, and outstanding impactful feature requests. All in 90 minutes? Sounds great. Oh, there's only 9 slots for that. It's interesting. It's only for graduated and incubating, so it might be worth.
We should have a full booth though. We didn't in the last like KubeCon EU, and like if there are enough people, like having a full booth helps. Like we had a partial booth and like the other project didn't even show up. So if there's a booth option, that'd be nice.
It's not in the email, but I think the email might be specifically about the maintainer track. Did I miss one about booth and stuff? Or do you think maybe that just comes later? Okay, well, I'll own staying on top of this. Any objection to, oh, I guess maybe, I was gonna say I'll just put my name down for the speaker, but it might be hard to change later looking at the form. I'll start a thread in the channel and we can just see who's interested. spec release planning?
I think we talked about this before, but I was just looking at the milestones and I'm wondering if we can kick some stuff out of the platform one, because the discussions we've been having about shell removal and the impact to end users, I think is maybe giving us pause on delivering that feature until we have better alignment. And that's still in platform 010. I think I wanted it to be in the next one anyway, but just wondering if we could formally move that out of the milestone.
Yeah, do you want me to do it right now?
Yes, please. And I also noticed this issue, Sam, that you made, which is to like explicitly call out that our API versions can contain alphanumeric, like pre-release indicators, but we don't plan on doing that anytime soon. Do we want to wait? Because there was some concern about adopting our own schema. You know, it's not totally Semver compliant. We want to wait until we have those discussions before we change the spec.
Yeah, it's okay to kick it out if you're not planning on using it.
Yeah, we're not gonna, not at least not in the next couple APIs. So. I'll leave a comment here.
Is that it for spec release planning? I have a question about updating the calendar invite. There's the calendar on buildpacks.io, and I was expecting that I might be able to update that by logging in with a like CNB Google account, which I don't know if we have one, but I don't see one in 1Password. Does anybody know how to update that?
So team up account, I think Javier and all the learning maintainers should have access to that. But it's like your individual Gmail account added on team up, I believe.
Team up.
You're talking about the buildpacks.io thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Team up or whatever it is called. It's something. It's like in the link. I'm forgetting the name of that website.
I don't see anything in 1Password that looks like it. So I don't know, Javier, if you're around, if you know, or you can ping me later.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you had an account. I invited you a while back, but
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I just don't see creds or a link or anything.
It's your personal email probably. Like
But what is it? Team up? Like, what's the website? Team up?
it's in our README as well, somewhere on the docs README. It has a link to team up, I believe. But Sam's got it.
Okay.
I need to drop, but so yeah.
Okay. I think we're just about done. Is there any more to add to the agenda for tomorrow? We have the Docker files, RFC.
Seems like given how complicated that is, if we want to get it over the line, let's just do it.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest the same thing.
The other topics that have come up recently were the launcher stuff, like shell removal, and I don't know if Sam, I mean, like last time we put it on the agenda, but we canceled because Sam wasn't there. But maybe we can bring it up again. And the other things I would suggest are those 2 new RFCs that I mentioned, because it seems relevant to
Quick and
people.
easy, which would be nice.
Yeah. I'll put them.
I haven't done a quick and easy RFC in a while. I think it'll feel good for everyone.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, we can use working group, I guess, too, but maybe those actually need, or office hours, I meant, but maybe those actually need working group time. All right, anything else? All right, I say we break then.
It's a wrap.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate moving the